And then if you're joining on Clubhouse, hello. Oh, actually, let me delete this. Hello. Hello, guys. We are going to get started in just 30 seconds or so. My name's Ashley Kirkwood with the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast. So invite your friends, share this out. And today our topic is how to know if you're ready for a large corporate contract. And as usual, what we're going to do is I'm going to get through some content and then do a Q&A live on Clubhouse. So if you're watching this live and you're like, okay, I have questions, you'll want to join me after the content on Clubhouse as well. Okay. All right. So this is the topic today, how to know you're ready for a large corporate contract. And my name's Ashley Kirkwood. I'm the founder of a firm called Mobile General Counsel that does exquisite work on behalf of growing brands to help them with their intellectual property and also help to make sure that they are protected. We also negotiate contracts, licensing deals, movie deals, image right deals on behalf of our clients. We do business with folks who may be small businesses, but understand that does not mean they are doing small business. That's what I do as an attorney at Mobile General Counsel. And then I also run a brand called Speak Your Way to Cash, which I have been focusing a lot of my attention on this year. And what we do there is teach speakers to land 5- and 6-figure corporate speaking contracts. I'm also the host of an annual event, Speak Your Way to Cash Live, and the author of this book, Speak Your Way to Cash, How to Start at the Top of the Speaking Market Instead of Working Your Way Up from the Bottom. This book is pure gold and is now available for pre-order. Now, we have a few weeks left. I think 19 days left until we stop selling tickets for Speak Your Way to Cash Live. And the number one fear that I think people have as it relates to coming to Speak Your Way to Cash Live, where Sammy, if you're listening to this, edit that out for the podcast. The biggest fear I think people have as it relates to coming to Speak Your Way to Cash Live is like, okay, Ashley, I hear you talking about landing these large contracts. I get what you're saying, but like, am I ready for that? Can I do that? Is it possible for me? That's a big fear. Because I think there are some people who should get their ticket, but they're like, I don't know if my business is ready to land a large contract. What do I need to have in place before I land a large corporate speaking contract? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you have any questions about this, drop them in the chat. Let me know. I love engagement. If you're listening on Clubhouse, feel free to send me questions through the back channel if I say anything that piques your interest. And then we'll do Q&A on Clubhouse after this because, you know, I'm going to tell you guys something that happened that really prompted this discussion. I was doing a talk about the sales process for corporations. And I was talking about, what it looks like to sell a 6-figure contract, the process, what you go through. You do the call. Then on the call, you say certain things on that call. After the call, they typically go and consult with other decision makers. You do a follow-up call. During the follow-up call, you talk numbers and pricing and specifics and when you want things to start. You may have addressed that in the other call. But then after that second follow-up call, typically there's either a contract signed or whether or not you need to circle back in a couple months. Like that second follow-up call is where the magic is going to happen. You're either going to sign a contract or you're going to know whether or not they don't have the budget, right? And sometimes you go back and forth about pricing and there's a few other calls in there. But I'm going through this whole process and I'm talking about what it looks like on the back end, the negotiation process, what you say on the sales call, all of this. And I had someone ask me a question like, okay, I hear you talking about how to start at the top of the market, but like, what if I want to start at the bottom? Like, what if I don't want to start at the top? What if what I want to do is start at the bottom of the market? How do I do that? So I'm like, I really don't teach that because I think it's a waste of time personally if you are an expert. So if you're someone who already has a defined expertise, I think you should develop a substantive package for your corporate clients that results in $50,000+ for you. They may not buy the entire package, but once you've presented that solution, your downsell will be so much more substantive, because if they hear you, oh, I'd like to sell you a $75,000 solution. And then you're like, okay, well, if that's too much for you right now, I'd like to present a smaller piece of that package for you to get started. That's $15K for me to do a virtual webinar. Now they're like, okay, that's reasonable. Let's start with that. And then we can have a deeper discussion about the larger contract. I personally think that's a better way to go than like doing 100 free engagements, getting 50 clients for $2,000 a year or $5,000 a year, and then always being on that rat race of getting more clients. So that's why we teach how to start at the top of the market. But I think what's confusing to people is because of the way we've been trained in our jobs, like you work for a long time and then you get a promotion. In entrepreneurship, you have to work laboriously for years and then you'll make some money. Like, I think we were trained that you can't start at the top. Like, it's impossible. You have to work your way up from the bottom. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of you, if you have a defined expertise, you have experience getting clients results, you've already done that groundwork. What we're saying now is package the groundwork you've done in a total solution for a corporation. So 3 signs you're ready to start at the top of the market. Here's sign number 1. You're not scared to ask for the sale. Here's something I want you all to write down, put it on a Post-it note at your computer, because that's typically where you are. If you're having a sales call, you should be somewhere where you can take notes on the sales call and all of that. If you can't ask for it, you'll never get it. Here's what that means. If you are petrified to ask someone for $120,000, $60,000, $55,000, then you won't ever be able to get that amount of money. Like, it's very simple. I don't know if you realize this, but I've never had anyone come up to me off the street and be like, Ashley, I don't know what it is that you do, but I would like to hand you $150,000. When I've gotten things in my life, it was because I asked for more. So the first sign that you're ready to land a large contract is you're not afraid to ask for more money, to be clear and to keep it plain. So you really have to ask yourself, because here's what happens. There are some of you right now that if I were like, how much money do you want to make from speaking next year? You would say, okay, well, I want to make $1 million from speaking next year. Or some people may even say, I want to make $80,000 from speaking next year. Okay, great. How much money have you asked for? And if anyone's brave, just drop it in the chat. How much money have you asked for this year? How much money have you asked for this year? And we'll make it simple. Have you asked for over $500,000 or under $500,000? So if you've done over $500,000, put over 500. If you've asked for under $500,000, type under 500 in the chat. I'm going to show this to you guys. I'm going to show this to you guys. And for those of you on Clubhouse, just shoot it to me in the back channel. Over 500, under 500. Okay. And I'm asking you this because of this. You absolutely have to track not just how much money you've made, how much money you've pitched. How much money you've pitched. How much money have you asked for this year? How much money have you asked for this year? Like, that's a really important number, because what that number will show you is where you're projected to end up by the end of the year. Someone said, I haven't asked yet. I get it. But, and let me be honest, most people that come to me looking to learn sales, looking to learn how to sell to corporate, have not even asked for the amount of money that they want to make in a year. And this may blow some of you guys' mind, but if you want to make $1 million in a year, you need to be asking for significantly more than that. Like, you want to make 1 million, what's your plan for asking for 100 million? Like, it, depending on who you're asking, what sales stats say. Let me look it up, because it may have changed this year. The percentage of closed leads closed. So now this is if you were doing cold calls. Conversion rates for cold calls are typically 2 to 3%. 2 to 3%. The conversion rate for warm leads, people who know who you are, is typically around 20%. So all the people who already know who you are, they're already on your email list, they're already excited about you. If you were to consistently talk to them over the phone and ask them to do business with you, industry standard says the warm call close rate is around 20%. Now, if you get referrals, it's around 50%. The reason why we teach the paid method is because first you want to build your brand, that's press. Then you want to assemble a six-figure offer. You want your acts to be significant. Then you want to invite people to work with you. We teach two ways: cold emailing and having events, inviting them into your space where you're the keynote speaker, you're the headliner, and then you ask them to do business with you because they're already warm to you. Then the D in the paid method is delivery. All four of those parts are talked about in the Speak Your Way to Cash book. We're talking about them at Speak Your Way to Cash Live. But the second part to delivery is, how do you get referrals? Why? Because referrals close at 50%. Right? So you want people referring you, sending people your way, who are excited about working with you. But I think we believe referrals come if we just say like, oh, we do good work, people will just refer us people. And sometimes that happens. But I'm not that patient. Okay. I think one of the reasons I'm good at sales is because I'm not that patient. So I'm not going to wait for my clients to hopefully one day, somewhere, somehow down the line, think of me. I'm going to ask them systematically, hey, do you have anyone that I should be talking to? Do you know anyone who I should be doing business with? Because like that's going to help. That's going to help for sure if you ask them. And people are busy. So you have to assume that people are not sitting at home thinking about you, waking up, thinking about that email you sent, thinking about that great gift you sent them. You want to be reaching out to them. Sales is a contact sport. It's a contact sport. It does not need to be slimy. And I've said this before, but I literally today got a call from, I don't even know if I should say his name, but like one of the salespeople for this guy called me today and he's like, hey, Ashley, really want to talk to you. I'm from Arnold's office. And I'm like, oh, okay. I've already asked you guys, please take me off your list. Oh, but if we take you off your list, we won't be able to serve you. I want to show you how to make $1 million this year. Anytime they talk fast, I know something going on. I'm not getting caught up. No, remove me. You don't have to be like that. I don't teach sales like that. I have people book calls with me who are interested. I have people attend my events and register who are interested. I will make the first invite to the event, but if they don't book it, if they're not interested in doing it, I'm not chasing down people who don't want to do business with me, because I understand there's so many people in the world who do. And I don't know if you all have recognized this yet, but like some of you are so brilliant. The only thing keeping you from making more money in your business, getting more exposure in your business, is that people don't know about you. So you have to get it in your mind. The more people who know about me, the more people who will like to do business with me. So my job is to make sure people know about me because I believe in what I'm doing. And if you believe in what you're doing, it is easier for you to be an evangelist about it because you believe in it. It's what you believe and you know it'll help people and you've seen it help people. So that's your job, is to make sure other people know about you. But the first sign you're ready to land a large contract is you are comfortable asking for a large contract. Meaning, if we put together the proposal, if I show you how to package it up, you will ask for the money. If you will get on the phone and you're going to break out into a cold sweat and you're not going to ask anybody for the money and you know you're not, it will not work. What you can't ask for, you most of the time won't receive. And the truth is, I saw this in a TV show the other night, and the woman was like, oh, well, you know, in this world, you get what you deserve. No, you really get what you demand. You do not get what you deserve. And I know that from every contract negotiation I've ever done. We negotiate deals where the initial offer is typically between 30 and 60% lower than what we end up with. So what does that tell me? If you don't demand more, if you don't ask for more, you are typically going to be paid 20 to 60% less than what the client would be willing to offer. You have to ask for more. It is what it is. So the first step, if you're not willing to ask, you will not receive. Now, you may receive something, right? But if you're not willing to ask, you likely won't receive the maximum amount that you could receive. right? Sometimes you'll get blessed. Sometimes someone will kick you a referral and it'll all work out. But we're talking about how do you get repeated? How do you get a system that where you're constantly having business? You're gonna have to ask. You're gonna have to ask. That's number one. And then number two, how to know you're ready for a large contract. You have to have expertise. And what I mean by that is you have to know you need a formula for getting your client success. You need a formula for getting your client success. I heard today about someone who did a workshop on a particular topic and they charged like a very low amount. And I was talking to a potential client about this and I was like, yeah, but that's very different. They gave a talk on a topic and that's cool. But what you're asking me to do is give something to not just give you a talk on a topic that I've heard about, but to share with you something that I've invented, something that I've created. That's very different. So not just do you have expertise, but you need a formula for getting your client success. You need to name that formula and you need to be the only person who can give that talk in the world. That's where your IP comes into play. That's where your IP comes into play. And these aren't like the sexy things to talk about. I feel like there are more fun topics to talk about, like make $1 million in 2 weeks. But the reality is the reason why your sales may be struggling is because you're not selling proprietary. You're just selling talks like, oh, a leadership talk, a confidence talk, a wellness talk. You know what I mean? When it's proprietary, when you're the only one who can give it, it's a whole different ballgame. It's a whole different ballgame with the positioning, with the pricing, and with the demand based on how you roll it out and market it and brand it and all of that. So you want to make sure that you have a formula. And that's one of the big pieces that we're going to talk about at Speak Your Way to Cash Live. I don't know which one it is. Let me see. This is actually our workbook for the event. The fourth session at Speak Your Way to Cash Live is building your framework and positioning your solution for profit. The fourth session at Speak Your Way to Cash Live. It is literally the moneymaker session. Because without that, you're selling a new thing every time. It gets to be a lot. And it's not effective for how you want to position yourself. Like we sell the currency of confidence. We also have the love method of communication and the paid method. So whenever we talk about those things, we're the only firm that can deliver those talks on those topics. So that is our positioning. That's our promise to our client. Like if you want this and if you bought into this, we're the only ones that can give you that. The third thing. So the first thing is mindset. That's critical. You have to be able to say it. Yeah, you should get a trademark for the name of your methodology, and then you would get a copyright for all of the worksheets that go along with it or the assessment that goes along with it. Any content, you can get a federal copyright for that. And literally today, we just received a federal copyright for our book, the contents of our book, so that people don't go and try to copy pages of my book or reteach my material to their clients without permission. Or if they do, I mean, I can prove that I own it, which is great, and sue them. So that's what having your stuff in order does. So your content, you want to have protected. The names of your methodology, like the names of your workshops that you give worldwide, could potentially be trademarked. And that just helps you to have a more, it helps to prove the fact that you own it, that you own your intellectual property. You're serious about protecting and enforcing the protection of it. So that's a really big thing. So first is the mindset. You have to, if you can't ask for it, you're not going to get it. Second is the expertise. You want to have a formula for how you get your clients success. The third is a big one. You want to have a process for working with clients. A process for working with clients. Now, one of the big things that we talk about in the book is customer mapping. And I talk about this with my academy students as well. Those who work with me in a group session, like our group coaching program, which I think we're gonna announce how we'll be working with clients in the future at Speak Your Way to Cash Live. But in the customer map section, there are, I believe, 13 data points on a customer map, like how I work with clients, from them not knowing about me all the way until I ask them for a referral and rebook them in the future. There's 13 steps that happen in between that. So for you want to have a customer map. You want to have a way to figure out, okay, how am I working with these people? What process am I going to take them through? Because when you're on a call with the corporation, you need to be able to tell them this is going to happen first. This is going to happen next. You're going to get an email from our accounting department with the invoice. 30% of that needs to be paid before, our contract commences. We reserve the date after we see the deposit being paid. You can pay the deposit via this and this. Like, you need to have a process that is critically important to your confidence in selling to corporations. And then what happens 2 weeks before the engagement? What happens 1 week after the engagement? All of that needs to be written down somewhere so that either you or an administrator or someone else on your team can take them through a pretty solid process for working with you. And it just solidifies that you are who you say you are. Like, you're not pulling this out of the air. Like, this is literally what you do. This is the process that you take people through. So when it comes to, are you ready for large contracts? Number one is the mindset. Are you even going to ask for the money? If you had the script, would you ask? 2, expertise. What's your formula for success? What is it that you teach? And why would they go with you versus anyone else in the world? What's your framework? And then 3, what's your process? What's your process for working with the client? Do you have your contracts in order? Are your trademarks in order? Are your copyrights in order? Because a lot of people think it's sexy to talk about licensing, but how are it's not smart to license something that you yourself don't know whether or not you own it. So if you're going to license out a particular workshop or a training and a huge corporation is going to be using it all over to train all their employees, what happens when someone else sees them using it? They bought the license from you, someone else sees them using it, and now they get sued for infringement because the company you've sold it to has bigger pockets than you. And the way lawsuits typically work, people are always looking for the person with the deepest pockets. So if it's between you and a Fortune 50 company, they're going to sue both you and the Fortune 50 company, which is why when it comes to playing in corporate, when it comes to landing these licensing agreements, most companies are going to ask you to do what's called a title search. Or they may call it something different. They may say, send me the contracts that you have with your independent contractors and your employees. We want to make sure you actually own the information that they make under your company. Send us this is your book. Okay, send us the contract between you and the illustrator. We want to make sure it has certain provisions in there. So the licensing piece of it is fun. That's glamorous. Oh, I want to license something out. That sounds so cool. But if you don't own your stuff, it's likely that you'll get called on that because companies will protect their stuff. They're going to protect their stuff. So you want to make sure that your documents are in order. When it comes to, and in general, whenever you do business with someone who has deeper pockets than you, meaning they have more resources than you to sue if it all goes down, you want to make sure it is very clear that you own the stuff. You own your stuff at minimum. That's really, really, really important. That's really important. And as someone who literally negotiates these deals, I know that they are going to ask to see, most reputable companies are going to ask to see whether or not you own it if they're signing a large licensing deal, especially if royalties are involved. That's just them doing their due diligence. So it shouldn't scare you off from doing business with them, but it should let you know, okay, 1, I need to protect my intellectual property. I need to get solid contracts in place. I always am going to recommend mobile general counsel for that type of stuff. Why? Because we've redrafted a lot of contracts from other people. And the truth is you want a law firm that not only understands how to file a trademark or how to write a contract, but how to strategically write these documents and file these trademarks for you in a way that will help your financial objectives. Okay. That's important. Okay. You absolutely have to have IP lawyers. So I'm always going to recommend our firm, Mobile General Counsel, because based on my background as a speaker and someone who's landed licensing deals and has companies sign these agreements all the time, I have a keen eye for like what should be in those agreements. So that's who I'm going to recommend. If you have not talked to a lawyer at all, you don't even know what you need done, we have something called a legal audit. It is very inexpensive. You can go to mobilegeneralcounsel.com and book your legal audit. I think they're $347. Just click on book consult. It'll take you to the legal audit page. You should 100% book that ASAP, like ASAP. And here's the truth too, guys. You cannot be like, I want to land. I mean, you can, But I don't think it's wise to be like, I want to land a multi-six-figure licensing deal with a major corporation, and you don't want to spend any money on protecting your underlying assets, or you don't want to spend any money on learning how to land these agreements. I believe, for me anyways, it was only when I decided, okay, one, I'm not playing small anymore. Two, I'm not investing small anymore. Then it was like, oh, okay, I'm serious about this. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm going to learn what I need to learn, do what I need to do, so that I have the information I need. So I'm not out here looking crazy, and I'm not out here wasting my resources talking to all these companies, putting out my intellectual property, and I'm not protected. This year alone, before this book releases November 15th, let me tell you all what we've done before this book releases. Number one, everyone signed a stiff independent contractor agreement. That's number one. Anyone who touched this book, worked on it in any way, signed an independent contractor agreement, making it clear I own all of this here. Number two, we did an IP check, making sure that the frameworks we discussed in the book, making sure that our title and subtitle, we strategically use titles and subtitles for this book that we have on file, trademarks filed for. And Speak Your Way to Cash obviously is a registered trademark of our company. Then we went through and we put disclaimers in the front of the book. When you get this book, page like, not even page one. Before page one, it's like legal disclaimers. We have 4 disclaimers in the front of the book. We have disclaimers in the front of our book, legal disclaimers in the front of our book. Then, we wanted to make sure whatever we talked about in the book, whatever we mentioned in the book, any assets that we mentioned, they're protected. Why? Because I'm not releasing this book thinking it's going to be read by like 2 people. I'm like, okay, let me assume that 200 million people will read this book. What would be my legal protection plan before I put it out? What will be my legal protection plan before I put it out? Sometimes you're building your business as though it's going to be small forever. And to be clear, small business, I think, is defined as under 25 million. Some of you are thinking of micro businesses, like 6-figure, that's like micro. But a small business is under 25 million. So that's, in the grand scheme of things, that's not that small. I saw a stat today that said less than 20% of the population makes over $400,000. So that's not that small. But the things that you're creating, the names of your signature speeches, the books that you're putting out, the workshops that you do in corporations, assume they're going to go far. Protect them as though they're going to go far. Sell them as though they're going to go far. Because the truth is, if you believed, 1, you could land a 6-figure speaking contract, then 2, you'd be investing in learning whatever you needed to learn in order to get that to happen. And you'd be at Speak Your Way to Cash Live. I know some of you said you can't come because of whatever. Okay. Okay. But you would be there because you knew that the information would change your life. And let me tell you something else about this information. For some people, they like don't make investments because they're like, well, I need to know that it's going to work for me. I need to know that, like, if I make this investment, I'm going to make my money back in 5 days. It's all going to be amazing, like blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you how I think about investment opportunities and how I think about knowledge and learning. This is how I think about it. If I learn something, if I go somewhere and I pay for a training and a workshop and it gives me one idea that I can implement, it's worth it for me. 100%. Another thing that I'm going to always invest in is I'm going to invest in learning about new opportunities that I might want to take advantage of. And here's the reason why. If I go, for instance, obviously I'm going to be a Speak Your Way to Cash Live, but let's say you're a speaker and you're like, I don't really know if I can sell to corporate. I may want to sell to colleges. Fine. The stuff that we teach works for colleges too. We've signed for $13,000 for workshops for colleges. They pay as well. So it doesn't like corporate versus colleges is fine. And these aren't keynote speeches. So for those of you who are like, I'm not a keynote speaker, I don't want to like speak at a big conference. The speaking field is vast. I include workshops, training, curriculum design, consulting, office hours, all of that is what we're going to talk about and cover. So no, you do not need to be a keynote speaker. But assuming you go to this event and you learn about a new opportunity in the market and you do something with that information, 100% worth it. That's just how I think about it. Now, for Speak Your Way to Cash Live, one thing that we did add recently is we have a financing partner. So if you're someone who's like, I want to attend, I need to finance it, I'm interested in financing options, please do send me a DM. Please do send me a DM and I can send you the application for that. Very short application. I think it'll probably take you, I don't know, maybe less than 5 minutes or so. And then you can see what the financing options are. So that is something that we now have available. I've alluded that we were going to possibly look into doing that, but we are working with the company for that now. So please send me a DM if that is something that you need to take advantage of. But overall, how do you know that you're ready to land a large corporate contract? One, it's your mindset. You have to be able to ask. Two, you have to have a formula for getting your clients success. That's expertise. Three, you need a process. Now, you need to have underlying expertise before you work with me. I'm not going to give you expertise. I can help with 1 and 3. So I can help with the mindset. You're going to already have your expertise. I can help you position that expertise, develop a framework around that expertise, help you think through whether that framework makes sense in the corporate market, but you need to know your stuff. For example, you can't come like, Ashley, I want to talk about wellness, and you don't know anything about wellness. I'm not going to teach you about wellness. I'm going to teach you how to package and position the expertise that you've developed over the years. And I may be able to help you see where your expertise lies, but that's just what that is there. And then 3, the process. What's the process for working with clients? You absolutely need a process for working with corporate clients. It can't be like, oh, okay, I did the first call, but then I don't know what happened. They didn't sign on. No, they're not going to sign on. You need to take them through a process. You did the first call. Okay, well, did you set the follow-up call? And what was your follow-up email? And how often did you follow up? Who did you speak to? Who else makes the decisions at the company? Do you only have 1 point of contact there or 2? How are you collecting referrals? These are the things that we have put into a system. It's in our book, and everyone who comes to the event gets an advanced reader copy. They don't have to wait until November 15th when it launches for everyone else. And then you also get a workbook. And I got an email from someone who was like, well, what do I get that I can keep with me after the event that I can implement? This workbook is literally like gold. I'm looking at page 23 of the workbook, and you get this in addition to the book. But on page 23 of the workbook, Pitching to Corporations with Ease, it gives you not only a sales cycle, but the elements of the sales cycle. And under most elements of this cycle, it even gives you exact questions to ask on the assessment, sample language you can use to ask for their confirmation throughout. And what I mean by that is when you're selling to someone on a sales call, you never want to be like, okay, let me tell you all the things that we have to offer. You interested? No. It needs to be a two-way street, a conversation. It shouldn't feel salesy, if you will. It should really be a conversation. Because honestly, at this point, you really need to, whenever you're having a sales call with a corporate client, you're talking to someone who booked a call with you if you work with the system that we have. And what you're trying to do is co-create a vision with them. That's what you're trying to do. So you definitely want to make sure that that is what you're doing. And then a process, obviously. Now, the process we can definitely help you with. You all probably already have expertise either by degrees or other things. And when you get your book, for those of you coming to the event, Chapter 3 talks all about choosing your topic and identifying your expertise using the FAME method, which is something that we do with clients to help them to identify their expertise. It stands for, what do friends and family say about you? Where's the audience that can pay you? How are all the ways you plan to monetize your speech? And then what is either your education or your experience that qualifies you as an expert? It's not just education, guys, education or experience that qualifies you as an expert. After you have that, and you choose a couple topics, then we can put it into a framework, a formula, and talk through that with you. So hopefully that was helpful. And Demaya, hopefully you have your ticket or you're getting your ticket soon. Because I know we've talked before. But yes, guys, so that is what I've got. Now I'm going to do a Q&A on Clubhouse. You can find us in the Speak Your Way to Cash Lounge, I believe. I hope. Yes. Oh, yeah. And let me actually let people in this room. I didn't realize it was locked. So we're in the Speak Your Way to Cash Lounge. I will let you guys come on over there and join me on Clubhouse for a Q&A. But everyone else, please do join me, speakyourwaytocash.com/event. Make sure you get your tickets. You have 19 days left to get your tickets. Not a lot of time at all. And after that, it's pretty much a wrap. And if you need financing, let us know as well, because I can send you the application so that you can go ahead and get financing, which will allow you to, if you're approved, you will get the funds for the event, pay us for the event, and then you're able to pay off that based on your terms. You actually select your own terms for that. So it's a pretty good plan. We've seen some success with that. So hopefully that answers a lot of your questions on whether or not you're ready to land large contracts. But part one, the mindset piece of it, y'all, you can literally decide, like, I'm going to land large contracts. That's what I'm going to do. And then after you make that decision, have your actions lead you, have your actions prove it to you. So it can't just be, you know, I want to do this, but what are you doing to prove that to yourself, to the universe, to God? Like, what are you doing to prove that? That's very important after you make up your mind about something. So join us at Speak Your Ready Cash Lab. We have a lot of great sessions, 13 sessions. And we're doing our pre-event prospecting party next week, I believe, for those of you who are already registered. All right, so go to speakyourreadycash.com/event. You can also go to speakyourreadycash.com to pre-order the Speak Your Ready Cash book. And I will talk to you guys later.